Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens, Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram. And this is fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 805. I got a great episode for us tonight. Looking forward to learning a little bit more.
Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens.
Looking forward to meeting this gentleman and learning some more about him. BeeGensBeans, I'm sorry. How you doing, my friend?
BeeGensBeans, Eagle. I'm doing great. Good to meet you at half a couple weeks back through Smiley's Garden. Sitting there with a good friend of mine, Dogman Troop, and we were all having a little session, just talking about our journeys in the cannabis world, which was definitely a good time.
It's awesome. Yeah, it was a good time. And of course, my good friend Smiley, very awesome dude. I got a lot of respect for that gentleman right there.
Now, is there a way I can see the chat? There it is. Or not while I'm in the video, huh?
Well, you can either bring up another device and get YouTube going on that, or like do it like a split screen type thing.
I'll get the going. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties here, guys. One of the few podcasts I've ever done, so
well, and my
question I can answer them.
And on my end, I think that's awesome because I like to be as close to firsties as possible. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be towards the top of the list of your podcast journey there. So this should be fun. So basically, where we start this thing off is right from the beginning. That is like the mission of this show is to get to know some of the great people in the cannabis community and where how their journey has taken them through till to now. And the way we start that off, of course, is with the first experience. When was the first experience? Either the first time you've seen cannabis or the first time you consumed cannabis, my friend. Where did all this begin?
I'd say with my cousins when I was like 12 or 13 years old, and I'm like 41 now, so I've been smoking for 29 years. And I really didn't look back. At 13, I smoked my first time. Really didn't get into heavier smoking until I was like 15, 16. Had a little bit easier access to it. And then just haven't looked back since. I have bad ADHD, and I feel even my mom's been a holistic or a nurse, but she's very holistic, and she's always believed in natural remedies, and seeing the cannabis do so well for me that she never even questioned me smoking from 18 on, let's say, so I don't get Ma in trouble. No bad parenting there. I give my parents great props. But yeah, I will say cannabis definitely changed my life in a good manner. You know, I don't drink. I used to drink. Don't drink anymore. Don't feel a necessity to it. I'd rather medicate through cannabis, you know, absolutely. Been quite lucky to have some influential cannabis people in my life close to me. You know, I grew the last 10 years, I've been a patient for Midnight Roots, Jake. And if anybody in Michigan here knows, Jake grows some great flower, you know, and it's very lucky on my part to have a mentor as talented as Jake, you know. And then getting into the seed bank business, I met a lot of other very influential and knowledgeable people. You know, Freshco Seed Company, Ross, Lime Rising Farms, Nick. The list goes on, and I don't want to forget anybody or leave anybody out, but these are guys that I got a lot closer to than other people, for say, that I deal with. But just getting advice from these guys that have been growing 15, 20 years. Yeah, I've been around cannabis, but I've only grown for going on 4 years now, you know. And that's something I will say. I'm an attention to detail guy, and no matter what I get involved in, I always do well. So, and everybody knows that about me. So like, I'm 3 years in, I'll show people my grow and they're like, oh, you're growing 10, 15 years now. And I'm like, no, only 3, but it's just about the time you spend with the plant and in the garden. The more attention you give it, the better it will become.
I completely agree with that. And the viewers of this channel are no stranger to a couple of your mentors there. Of course, Jake has done a couple episodes, and so has Nick. So they definitely know who the mentors are for sure. That's pretty awesome. So kind of getting back to like the beginning stages of it, you say that you kind of realized the medical value of it early on. First off, what do you remember what kind of cannabis you were able to like resource then? And then I guess yeah, talk a little bit about maybe the medical, finding the medical value in it. I mean, versus the high. I mean, was there a difference to you, or did you kind of grow into or realize it in time that it had a medical benefit for you?
I think I kind of grew into it as you matured. At a younger age, everybody just kind of smokes to get high, and to fit in with the crowd or your friends that you're hanging out with, especially at the influential age of a young teenager. But once you get into your 20s, you realize the aspects that it does slow you. Like with me, at least, it slows me down and helps me focus. Otherwise, I'm all over the place. So that's definitely a good thing. Like people say they do dabs and they just zonk out. I do dabs and go scrub my garden or scrub one of my rooms in my garden or transplant plants. It helps me keep going and keep focused at the task at hand. I would probably say started accessing in my mid-20s some solid genetics out of some guys that gorilla grew in a Detroit basement, before it was legal. Because, I mean, it's been legal here 12, 13 years. That would have put me at like my late 20s. I'd say my mid-20s before it was all legal is when they were getting seeds and genetics in from Amsterdam, hunting them and growing just fire. And you could definitely see where the different levels of the strains, or some strains would be an appetite stimulant, or other strains would zonk you out. And what are you smoking on tonight, Eagle?
I'm smoking on a little bit of a dedication strain that me and Smiley had put together over the last few years for we had a gentleman who used to view the show quite a bit and hang out and chat, and he became a part of the show. Basically, he came on and told his story and became a little bit of a staple into the weed nerd world. And then he passed without warning. We knew he was sick, but we didn't realize how sick he was, or didn't let on how sick he was. So we took a couple of his two favorite strains that were donated to us from North Star Genetics and Miranda Family Farms, sent them over. And I hunted out the Columbium side, and Smiley hunted out the Jack Skellington side. And then we crossed those together and we put forth what we called the DOA, which was his name, but we kind of flipped it around. DOA was his initials backwards. And which was Anthony something Diaz. And then we took it, and when we renamed it for him, we took DOA, and now it's the Dank of Anthony. So this is a dedication strain for him.
Oh yeah, that's fucking awesome. What's the high on it? Or
it's a little bit heady in this version of it here. A little bit of fruit gas to it. It's kind of another thing too. There's two versions of it out. So we kind of we did both ways to see what we would come up with. So basically, I hunted out Columbian female and male, and then I passed Smiley my female, and then he passed me one of his females that he hunted out, and then I bred the Columbian male to Jack Skellington, and he bred out Jack Skellington male to the Columbian. So we kind of flip flopped them a little bit there, and produced maybe two different versions of the same strain to see what we could get.
Oh yeah. So we went from in my mid-20s, then getting, as soon as it got medicinal in Michigan, I was right on getting my card. I was like, let me protect myself from jobs and stuff like that in case anything was to happen, you know. And I got right into the medical side. Jake was my caregiver right away, and everything went really smooth. Well, let's fast forward 7, 8 years, and COVID hits. So COVID hits, and I lose my day job. And my day job, I've worked at the casino for 18 years now. So started as a dealer, now I'm a table game supervisor at one of the Detroit casinos. When COVID hit, they did a complete shutdown. Like, I've worked in the casino industry 18 years. The only other time it shut down is when we had that massive blackout on the East Coast where everything lost, the grid lost power. And like, other than that, then I knew it was serious. So I'm like, all right, well, it's been months and they're paying us unemployment and stuff, but there's no sign of opening back up. And at that point, I had already started growing. I worked with a bulldog rescue, and I took on a couple high allergy cases and high medical cases, and they put me in a financial hole. So I'm like, man, I got to dig myself out of this hole. So I started growing a little bit. And, you know, that was starting to grow for the wrong reason, I'll say, more so than the right reason, which is the passion for the plant. I learned quickly by coming into some mistakes, you know, and not spending enough time in the garden, thinking it's going to do itself, you know. And gardening's hard work, especially when you blow a basement out and you start from scratch and have no real guide. You just kind of got to wing it and make your environment work. Learn the hard way, you know, had a couple failures, and then came back strong. Like, wanted to see the plant's health happy and healthy, and wanted quality medicine, you know, like the medicine wasn't cutting it, like at that point. So took the extra time and initiative now that I'm off work, and spent that time in the garden really learning my space and learning my plants, you know. And I'm very happy I got that time off the casino because it brought that passion to life, you know. Before, I was stretched so thin that it was more a hobby than a passion, and a little extra source of income to help me not be flatlining paying minimals on bills. But when COVID hit, at first I just grew some cuts Jake gave me. The sour OG, I mean, he set me up for success. That man. He gave me the sour OG Kush, the wedding cake, and a cookies and cream raspberry pheno. Like 3 winning strains. I had all the flour, loved all the flour. He pretty much let me pick, what do you want to grow? And he gave me some cuts, and I went at it. And I wanted to grow something different. So I got into ordering some seeds. I think the first order I made was from Attitude Seed Bank. They came in, my neighbor made an order, and I made an order. And we did the incognito shipping. His showed up inside of a Barbie's head in little plastic baggies, and mine showed up in a train set behind the tracks, like in little plastic baggies with individual labels for which strain was what. No original packaging. You just kind of had to take their word for it. Those seeds and some seeds I got from Jake, I popped. And I realized that not every seed in cannabis that you pop is going to be a keeper. I didn't find one. I mean, I found some decent things, but I didn't find anything like what I was already growing. So I'm like, all right, I got to find more seeds. It became kind of an obsession. Let's see what we can get next and see what we can put into the garden, and then I did a pretty decent sized pheno hunt. And at that point, I had a collection that I'm like, man, I can grow weed for the next 50 lifetimes at this point with the space I have. I need a bigger space. Something somebody always told me, there's two things. There's not enough hours in the day, number one, and you're never going to have enough space, number two. And those are the damn truth. That's one thing I will say. But so now my hobby of collecting seeds has gotten out of control. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to grow all of these. I should start selling some of these. And I used Instagram as my platform and would go live and have auctions for some of the seed packs that I had that were rare. And I didn't want, I knew I couldn't pop them and they were just going to sit in a vault forever. And realized that I'm not the only one with this crazy obsession of collecting seeds. There's a lot of guys out there that want to preserve the genetics or grow the genetics. They want to just hold on to them to make sure 15 years down the road, we can have this plant again. And I was dealing with a couple friends. Terpy Seeds was one of them. He owns a seed bank, a huge mentor of mine in the seed bank side. I got to give Terpy mad props here. Terpy's doing big things out here. He told me, Beegan, why don't you just open up a seed bank instead of doing these auctions? Because he saw me like, if you do an auction, you're struggling for 2 to 3 days to keep up with payments and then getting the person's information and getting the picture sent over. Or where with a website, it's all right there for you, right in front of you on a laptop, and it makes it much easier for shipping. You get the packages out faster. People are happier. So I went in that direction, and I haven't looked back. Fast forward to about 8 months ago, a year ago, they brought me back at the casino. So now I'm stretched super thin between a full grow, full-time job, and running the seed bank. I apologize to everybody for not picking up any new gear, but I feel like the market has slowed down quite a bit, that it's very hard to pick up new gear and sit on inventory not knowing when it might sell. So there's a little bit of the story right there.
That's a good base right there. What are you smoking on? You asked me and I forgot to flip it back on you.
Smoking some of the runts. Did I give you some of the runts at Ash Bash?
I don't believe so. No.
I meant to. I kind of tried to give everybody a little bit of it. I got the cut from Freshco Seed Company. Homie Ross gave me a bunch of different cuts to run in the garden and see what my market liked, for say, and what I liked. And I do not mind the smoke of this. It's very fruity, gassy, smooth. At the Sungrown event, me and Tommy Trichromes both brought a full jar of runts, and we handed it out to everybody to have a runts off. And I beat, like, out of 15 or 17 people, I beat Tommy by one because they were both fire. So, but huge shout out Tommy Trichrome's growing fire out of Southwest Michigan. And I don't know. Sometimes stuff like that makes it fun. We were both taking some down and we had talked to each other a month beforehand. And I'm like, get your cure on, get your method right. Mine's going to be right. Like just talking shit back and forth, But no, looking forward to a couple different events this summer. Michigan Glass Project. I don't know if you've ever heard about that, Eagle. Bunch of Detroit glass blowers doing big things out here for the community. They have a 3-day event in the city of Detroit at the Russell Industrial Center. And it is where glass blowers from all over the world, mainly country, but they do fly in from Europe and Australia. I've met people from, and they come together and put these masterpieces together that are auctioned off at the end of the event for charity. The charity they've been working for the last few years is called Art Road, which puts an art class back into Detroit public schools that have lost the funding for it through the last, I want to say, 5-6 years. They cut art out of Detroit schools, out of the public school system. But this program has allowed them to put art back in like 5 schools in Detroit through the last 3 years, which is pretty huge. You don't want to program the kids to do exactly what you want. You want to have them, let them have some freedom with their brain, you know? I mean,
I agree. That's huge, brother. That is super huge. You know, I was just speaking on that subject a little bit last night because it's something that is a little bit near and dear to my heart because I believe in like manifestation, the power of manifesting things. And it has where I think a lot of people lack when it comes to manifesting things for to themselves. They come up with a good idea that they want, or they got things they want to see happen in their lives, but it doesn't go any further than words being said. And I think a lot of that process is being able to visually and creatively see it in your head. And I think as we get older, you know, we lose that creativity. And so hearing that it's already being cut out at a school level, you know what I mean, art and stuff like that really is discouraging because now we're not reading books anymore. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that that really exercises that creative muscle in your head. So I think it's awesome that you guys are helping, you know, this is helping keeping that seed going because art and stuff like that is super important.
absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it's an event that is kid friendly and adult smoker friendly. There's areas that are a whole dab section, chill section, smoke section. Then there's an area where the kids can go make their own painting or art piece, you know, and then there's live glass blowing, live metalworking, live graffiti art. It is a pretty awesome 3-day event. Then every day there is after parties, there's food trucks outside. I mean, it's definitely one of my favorite events of the summer every year. And it's been down for a few years because of COVID. So this year you have all these glass artists going like this. We're ready to do it. And they've been talking about it. They've been doing so many different little lives and podcasts building it up. And it's going to be definitely, if anybody's in Michigan or close to, look it up, the Michigan Glass Project. They're one of the reasons the Belle Isle Aquarium on Belle Isle got open back up. That was one of the first years fundraiser people that they donated to. I can't think of the words right now. I'm stoned and fumbling over my words, but I mean, it's what happens when you're live, right? It's just natural to fuck up a couple times.
I love the live thing about it. You know, it's more genuine, flat out. It's more genuine. It's not cut up. It's not mixed together to make it something that it wasn't. It's as genuine as it should be. So I kind of love the lives myself.
Detroit
That's
River Rat, I'll look that up for you right now, brother. He asks when it'll be. Let me open up Facebook. It's on Facebook and Instagram, but it's easier to just log in through Facebook, honestly. And then I can 2023 main event. It is Friday, June 9th, Saturday, June 10th. Sunday, June 11th. There's already 1,000 people saying they're going. It's a pretty crazy, awesome event, and if anything, you'll meet some pretty awesome glass blowers that you look up to if you're involved in glass art or into glass art at all. Here, I'll show, just so everybody can get a, how do I flip this camera here? The Michigan Glass Project. Russell Industrial.
I like getting behind sport and things like that with a true, goal, something that's giving back and doing good things. That's super awesome.
Some of my favorite parts, though, honestly, are the after parties. And I'm sad I'll miss a lot of the after parties because I'll be stuck at work. But one of them's at the Whitney Gardens and the Botanical Gardens right on Woodward in downtown. Crazy, crazy little atmosphere. But there's like botanical gardens outside. They'll have live DJs. It'll be just a jam out session. But then there's little table sections everywhere people are sessioning, and nobody is giving any kind of hard time at all. Excuse me. Then there's a night that they do the Old Miami, which the whole backyard's like a double wide backyard in a city lot that just has little sections of tables and areas to sit, smoke, and sesh. It's pretty incredible. First time I ever hit a pineapple bong was the first glass project. They took a pineapple, these glass blowers took a pineapple, cut the head, cored it, put a glass tube in it, and then put a slide in it. And that was like the smoking apparatus at every after party for that weekend, So then it was those two glass pieces you could take and turn any pineapple into a bong with a little coring device.
Sounds like a fun smoking device. So I want to get back to a little bit to your story a little bit. So, you were talking about earlier that cannabis, that you realized the power in the medicine early on. How did that change for you when you started actually cultivating the plant? Did it change for you?
I feel like, I won't say that it changed for me, but it made me realize how hard it was to cultivate the plant to its maximum potential and how much people take it for granted. Like, they're like, oh, this is mids. Well, somebody put a lot of time and effort into that typically, and they did the best they could, but they can always do better. I don't care who you are, you can always do better. That's one thing I always strive to do better, each and every run and see some kind of progress. You're always going to have hiccups, but I will say the medicinal qualities, I can't say I saw them any better once I started growing, but I saw how much it mattered to cultivate properly to get the true medicinal qualities out of the plants, per se. Or everything you add into that plant can come through in your end result at the end of the day, and it shows.
That's very true, 100%. So I asked the question because a lot of times that I find that people, when they're using cannabis as a medicine, appreciate it for a medicine, but once they start kind of cultivating it, they actually realize the weight in the medicine. And does it make any sense? I mean, once you start actually the cultivation side of it, you realize that there is something special with that plant. I don't know if it's just the cultivation side of things, but I believe that it's a little bit of that can do thing where you're helping yourself, you're pulling yourself along, you're self-sustaining. there's that to it, but I think there's the cultivation side of it too. It can be equal to the medicine itself. Uh, and in most cases, that's what I've learned from talking to people like yourself, that once they started cultivating their own medicine, that you know, the cultivation was equal to the medicine, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that can go back to one of the things I said, where in the beginning, the medicine would just quality wasn't there because I feel like I got into it for the wrong reason, but then I became passionate about it, seeing how much was needed to be involved in doing it, and seeing how much you had to put into your garden to get it back out. Every hour matters, spending time with them and going in there and paying attention to if things are right. You're going to have hiccups in a grow. Not only are you growing a plant, you're growing as a person, your knowledge constantly while growing. It's something I've learned so much. Like, you always learn something new. And that's something that I do enjoy about it. There's not a direct diagram to exactly how to grow the perfect plant in this exact environment. There's multiple diagrams you can put together, but depending on your environment, what's going to work best for you, it's a matter of trial and error and time to see what is working the best in your environment. Everybody's got a way to grow, but growing in your environment, in the space you have to work with the genetics you have to work with, is what matters. And that goes back to genetics. For 420, I just threw up a sale. Happy 420, by the way, Eagle. We're 5 minutes into 420. So
happy 420 to you, my friend. It's an honor being able to kick off this 24 hours with you, my friend.
Well, I appreciate the invite. Sorry I wasn't super prepared. It's been a hectic week. Like I said, we're going out to Vehicle City Social tomorrow. I'm going to be there with Lime Rising Farms Nick and Chris over at Country Roots. I'm going to bring some clones and seeds. Not bringing a ton of seeds because on the site right now, for everybody that's watching, BeeGensBeans.com. And Eagle, can you fix that in the title? There's an S between the vegan and beans, and it's all one word. That way it's easier for them to find me, because I come up as on my YouTube. If I start typing, I'll be a completely different name. But bringing some cuts and seeds. I can show y'all what they are here. If anybody's local and going to be around the Flint area tomorrow, we'll be there from 12 to 6. These are all Fresh Coast breeder cuts or cuts I got. The wedding cake's a cut I got from Midnight Roots. We got Garlic Iceman's breeder cut, Mandarin Butter breeder cut, wedding cake, Gorilla Puff breeder cut, Chocolate Dip Bananas breeder cut, Gorilla Nut breeder cut, Runts, the official Runts cut, Banana Conda breeder cut, Gorilla Butter, that's one I hunted. Those are the prices, 50 to 200. You buy multiples, we'll work out crazy deals. Then seed packs. I have $25 seed packs, $30 seed packs, $50 seed packs tomorrow at Vehicle City Social from 12 to 6.
Right.
But then for anybody that can't make it, we're going to be offering clones in the next 2 weeks through BeeGensBeans on Instagram. And we're also doing a sale right now on the website. Biggest sale we've ever had. We've been going for 3 years now, and it's a 40% off sale. The code is happy420, and it goes through Friday. I think I'm shutting it off Saturday at midnight, or Friday night at midnight into Saturday. 40% off everything on the site. Happy420, all capitals. Happy420 at BeeGensBeans.com. Thank you, Eagle, for fixing that.
Problem. No problem. Yeah, I love the seeds myself. I am definitely one of the collectors that you were talking about. I've been like that myself. As far as like, preserving too, I've always kept a few back out of, whatever pack I had just in case I ever want to go back. I got at least a little crumb to work with. But I am definitely a hoarder myself, so I can appreciate the fellow hoarders.
Oh, we're over in Michigan, guys. These guys it's 9 o'clock on the West Coast. It just hit 4:20 here on the East Coast. I'll celebrate with y'all at 3 o'clock West Coast too, and Eagle will as well. You know what? I'll show you guys the garden if you want to see, just so I'll show you a little bit of it. We're not going to go too in detail to it, but we'll look at a little bit of it. And I'll show you my seed vault, my preservation station. And I'm doing a pretty big pheno hunt right now. We have done a couple projects. Let's see. Still here fine, Eagle?
Yeah.
Okay, let me turn that down. This is my seed vault right here. So there's books and boxes full of seeds right here. Like, this is my personal collection. I need a farm to start hunting on, honestly. Then we're gonna this is a pheno hunt of the dino butter.
Looks nice. It looks nice and green. Definitely an indica leaner, eh? Them broad leaves.
And some other pheno hunts going on. We'll just show that right there. I have a couple other rooms, but we're not going to go into them right at this moment. So
fair enough. So tell me what the difference is in your opinion. Why the breeder cut versus like buying the seeds?
It saves you time. If you are limited, that you have a tent and you can only grow 4 plants at a time. You and I both know hunting seed packs, it's hard to find a keeper out of 4 seeds. You might waste 3 months, if not 4, probably 4 months between vegging that seed out, flipping it, flowering it, just to find out it's a dud, or just to find out week 2 of flower it's a male, and you didn't account for that. And next thing you know, you have a much less full tent than you could have. Or when you go with like a breeder cut, when you're limited on space, for say, when you want to go with a breeder cut, hey, this is a tested, tried, true plant that's going to produce something that I'm going to be able to work with at the end of the day. I can see what the flower is already. Typically, if it's a breeder cut, the flower is floating around already 99% of the time. Now, don't get me wrong, though. There's people like you and I that just enjoy the thrill of finding something that's different in the hunt of the seed, And if you got the space, run with it and continue to pop seeds. Try to find that next best thing. How many brands we've watched being built over the last 10 years off of one genetic? All it takes is one, guys. It's like hitting the lotto. So I tell somebody, you could have the winning lotto ticket right there in a pack of seeds. You just got to play the cards right, play the seeds right, make sure you're getting them in the soil, popping them. They're duds, keep it moving, pop some more.
I can appreciate all that. But yeah, it's one of those things that we were talking about earlier, a little bit about genetics. And that's kind of what I was speaking of earlier. is that when the breeder has bred something out and they have found the one, obviously the breeder's cut. You know what I mean? This is the shining example of what I've created. This is the one I'll stand by. Right.
Yeah.
So this is my the where I'm hoping that breeders will take their breeding efforts to that point to where their seeds thereafter, the breeder's cut will be nice to have, but when they've worked that line far enough down to where there's no more like that, I mean, there's always will be people that love the pheno hunt, but there are also the people that, like obviously yourself, that want exactly what was created. You know what I mean?
And what I mean at the end of the day, though, too, Eagle, you gotta grow things to pay the bills, to keep the hunt going. The bills aren't going to pay themselves. The electric bills, the nutrient bills, the time. You got to have something in production. You can get rid of, you can move to keep everything else going. And that, I think that's a huge part. People just will, without having something to keep everything moving, you could one or two runs in a row where you had nothing but duds could put you under, and you'd have to stop growing. You have to have a happy medium, I feel like, where even if it's one run of production, then the next run half production, half hunt, but you have to continue to grow to your market at the end of the day, especially with how the cannabis market has just been steadily going down through the last year in Michigan here. It makes it a lot harder to do hunts. You're donating a lot of your time, effort, money into a gamble, for say.
I definitely agree with that 100%. But the gambles all usually pay off 100%.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. You could pack the perfect pack of seeds that had the winning lottery ticket in it, and you could have a DQ or an AC blow up in the middle of your run, and you would have never known. If you didn't do a holdback or didn't have time to do a second run on it, if that just discouraged you from getting completely out. Growing is definitely a dirty game in more ways than one. It can really test somebody's patience, because it's nothing like, if something's going on with your plants, there's nothing you can really do overnight to change it. You have to slowly address the issue, I feel like. Unless it's, bugs, and of course you're spraying overnight, but deficiencies and stuff, those aren't something you can just flush it right out. It's a waiting game,
Well, I guess the hydroponics, you can bounce back from that a little bit quicker than all the dirt. But so, what is your medium? Are you a soil guy? Midnight roots, country roots. I'm sensing soil.
Especially hanging out with Nick and working on his farm through the last few years, I want to go living soil. But right now I'm currently using cocoa and can of nutrients. I copied Midnight Roots' style, and I'm running with it because I'm producing a good medicine at the end of the day. I have organic guys that will smoke my flower because they're like, your flower's clean. I've been in your garden's spotless. You're OCD about that shit, vegan. And they're like, I can see when smoking, your ash turns white as shit. You do the proper flush, you do the proper cure. It's all, like I said, growing. That's what I learned with was cocoa, and that's what I've ran with. It's hard to transition. I'm one of those guys that's all or nothing. So when I go live in soil, I'm gonna say bye-bye to cocoa and just go all balls into it, and that's something that I've been told by all people that do living soil that you better get used to a huge difference in yields and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's a better quality product. I feel like it's just about getting your beds up and running and proper microbial life in your beds and your worms. And I hanging around with all these organic farmers, I can't not want to go in that direction because I see the difference. I really do.
There is a
It's all
nice.
in a basement. I want something with bigger ceilings than 8 feet. I really wanted to move out of this, but with COVID, the whole market got really jacked up in real estate. So I'm kind of stuck where I'm at for a couple more years until things kind of balance out a little bit better.
So do you think how do you see the market recovering, or do you think it will be more through good genetics, or do you think it will pick up from just the lack of quality from the big boys?
I think the big boys lack of quality. They're going to wean out themselves when their products eventually won't move off the shelves, no matter what price point they put on it, because so many other people have something that's better for a better price, for say. I think there will always be a demand for craft cannabis, whether it's metric or black market. I think the true smokers will always appreciate that, and you will know it. But I think a lot of people that were growing are quitting, and only the ones that are really passionate about it are sticking with it. They got to have the passion to fight this wave that's really hitting us all so hard.
I do agree with that 100%. I have another thought on that too. Is I believe we'll see a reemergence of purebred sativa or long-term flower here real soon, because there's so many people with the passion for growing that have grown through these last few years and got a good taste of producing their own quality cannabis. But when it's like the market has taken a huge shit, and a lot of people have folded up, sadly, quality producers for one reason or another, but they 100% will continue to grow cannabis. So when necessarily the market isn't the factor, I think, because they have more time, it'll be more for just connoisseur. They'll start bringing back some of them long-term flowers, because now it isn't necessarily about turning as many rooms or tents or flips as we can, versus I got time to let that girl go. You know what I mean? And I think once people get a taste of that long-term flower, they're going to be like, where in the fuck is this bit?
We'll see that a little bit, but I really think, Eagle, and we've seen it through the last year, is a lot of people are growing for hashers, and rosin. And rosin is really high-end concentrates have really taken over the weed game. You got a lot of growers running plants that are calling for 70, 77 days, and they're running them 54, 63 days to keep just cutting them down right when they show a hint of amber for the wash, for a nice, clean looking product, but the flavor is not there. I mean, like we had talked about before this live, one of my good friends is I would like to consider one of the better hash producers in the state of Michigan, Dogman Troop. He produces some fire, and that whole contraption he brought to hash bags, that's an experience in its own. That thing's like the party pleaser 101 right there, the Indux Labs. tabletop setup. But I just watched him evolve as a hash maker through the last 5-6 years and go from having a full-time job to completely following his passion into hash, and watching my friends just succeed in this. A lot of close friends of mine are very successful in this game, and it's all about the passion at the end of the day. It has to be, because if it's not, money will drive you into the grave at the end of the day.
You can always tell a quality maker, a hash maker too, about this when they talk about their product, the seriousness they talk when you speak with them. As far as like, I heard you mention color there. I think, color of like extracts, I think was something that like became like trendy on mistake, almost, if you will. You know what I mean? When they first started making extracts, beach sand, the more clear, whiter side of hashes was popular. And I actually think that just became a thing because of time and moment and everything else. I think that was a trend to actually, like a California trend, if you will, to almost harvest early, avoid the whole, trimming, curing process, and push something early harvest that they could just like throw in a freezer, be done with it, and start making hash out of it. I don't necessarily believe color has anything to do with like the optimal buzz. I think is not necessarily buzz, but just all around product terp. You know what I mean? Overall high. I think the clear stuff's it's too heady. But that's just my opinion. But I think that color thing was like a trend, not necessarily quality.
I think that color had a lot to play with what was residually left in their banger when they were doing their dabs or their Puffco. How like it showed, but I mean, it was all variant. I had some dark stuff that would be like a dark residual left over hitting the Q-tip, but then I've had some dark stuff that had dirty matter in it at the same time. But I mean, and that's where I think a lot of them had some dirty fucking rosin at one point or another that turned them off to the dirty color. But I mean, I have a jar of Gary Payton from Nick over here from his last year's harvest that is just crazy dark, but it's crazy floral and earthy, and it's such a hitter. I do that, and I'm gonna go play some video games or go sit on the couch and watch TV for 30 minutes. It's one of those ones that'll just straight relax you, head, body, everything. So I mean, I definitely see it's all cosmetic, that the fad. But I mean, I can also see where people have had bad experiences and associate darker hash to dirtiness too, because everybody knows somebody that's tried to make hash or rosin on their own, and that's just not a technique that's learned overnight. It's learned by many of batches perfecting your craft or your art form that you're doing there of making hash. So I'm looking at these comments. These guys are funny as hell. How many people do we have in here, Eagle? Does it show you anywhere?
I believe you can check at the bottom of your like the page rolling there, the screen. 66 is what I'm showing right now.
Oh,
so yeah, we most definitely have some cool ass people that hang out here every night. That's for sure.
Detroit River, who are like, I see you. Shout out Detroit River Rat. He was probably there with us at.
Yeah, he was. He was sitting at the table with us.
What's your IG handle, Detroit River Rat?
Detroit River Rat.
That would be funny.
Yeah, a bunch of awesome people here. Timon Trichomes is another one you mentioned. Also been on the show. Friend of the show too. Told his story. Yeah. And again, I'm kind of glad that you adding you to the list of these great people that have been on, man.
Oh yeah. Well, and I will definitely get you in contact with Dogman and see if he'll come on with you. Definitely he'll do an audio interview. He doesn't do too many video interviews because he still hasn't made the transition to metric, which he wants to do. He's just waiting for the right opportunity. So, that's a thin line,
It's
So
I appreciate that 100%. I wish and I foresee a time where, you know, great, you let there be a metric system. I've always been a great proponent, advocate. As long as I can grow, fucking let me play. Show me, show me what I gotta do. Show me what let me play. Just let the little guys play. And we've been kind of weeded out. They keep making it harder and harder to let the little guy play. But I'm hoping at some point we kind of like have an alternative market to the Matrix and like a farmer's market type thing.
But with the proof of corruption by the MCMA and the charges now being forced upon the board members, like they have been charged, like it would in hopes it would allow the caregivers to come back into the picture like they once were allowed to go to the dispensaries, have their batch tested and sell their overages to the market, but now you're fighting a much bigger corporate umbrella that is filled with corporate money and investors in these big warehouse grows and facilities, so if you're not fighting one edge of the sword, you're fighting the other edge of the sword as a caregiver. If you're not fighting the government, you're fighting your competitors who, as a small guy, have a lot more money than I do, like it's the unfortunate game that we play. Well, I really appreciate you having me on here, Eagle. I will have to do this again in the future. I'd love to come back, tell you a story after this pheno hunt I got going on downstairs. I'm doing I started to say this, but it was downstairs and loud. BeeGensBeans, we did one cross. I did one pollen checking project, and I got super lucky with the Stankosaurus male that I selected. And it just, anything he touched turned to gold. I have a strain called Dino Butter that's in metric out on the East Coast in like 3 or 4 facilities, which is my Gorilla Butter cut that I'll be selling at Vehicle City Social tomorrow, times the Stankosaurus male. And it's just a beast of a plant. Anybody that grows it says, man, that's an awesome plant. So I popped like 40 of those seeds, and I got an F2 project going on in the one room. The first room we went in is like the Gorilla Butter room. There is a bunch of the Dino Butter. There's some more Gorilla Butter F1, and there's some strawberry truffle. And the other room's full of a bunch of fruity stuff where it's like papaya gushers, grape cake mint, sour melon soda, and King Bling remix. So got a little variety pack going right now. I'm looking for that grape terp. If you're in Michigan, you know that grape terp, circa like 2002 to 2006, that granddaddy that was going around the city that tasted like Fruity Pebbles almost. I am on a hunt to find that, and I will. And then I'm going to preserve it, S1 it, and sell everybody the seeds. And y'all are going to appreciate me more than you know.
And Denver wants to know before you go is how is your what is it? How to compare his white truffle. How's his cut compared to white truffle?
My cut of Gorilla Butter compared to the white truffle cut. I mean, I think they all have their pros and cons. I was live with Nick earlier today on IG, and I told him I was selling that cut. He's like, "Don't sell that cut." He goes, "You got a special cut there." And not many people have had it. Maybe like 10 to 20 people have grown it. And nobody, and the people I've given it to are pretty tight with it. They're not going to just give it out to everybody. And a lot of people get discouraged because the internodal spacing. I mean, there's some spots that it's 3 to 6 inches of a stem and then a golf ball. But that golf ball is just like a gas, like a burnt rubber gorilla gas almost. Like, it's very hard to describe, and it's triked out. Any of the Gorilla Butters have tendencies, even the white truffle. It's part of growing a plant with Gorilla Glue lineage in it. You have that possibility. I've heard it time and time again. And I've seen people herm the white truffle. I've seen people herm my Gorilla Butter. They're very keen on environment. It's a hard plant to grow, but once you figure her out, you will be so happy with the results. On a comparison level, mine doesn't have as much exposure. You'll have to, I'll have some flower ready in about 3 months. Follow me on IG. You can follow the grow and see what it looks like. I go live all the time over there. Any other question?
There are all the links. I put a lot of your links down in the description, so hopefully they can follow along. Try to make it easy for them. So a couple other things I want to explain to you. By the way, I want to congratulate you on the Stankosaurus male. What a great name for a male. I don't know.
Thug Pug genetic. It was a Stankosaurus. It was Mr. Stinky by Dino Meat number 8. And she was just a stacker and a froster. No matter what he hit, it was just I still have a good amount of seed stock of almost every strain that if I ever wanted to rework any of them. And it just, now I want to rework that Dino Butter and find a good cut of that and a good base to do an F2. The main reason of this hunt is looking for a crazy male. And tonight, actually, before I went live, I was in there with a friend of mine that's up from Missouri, and we were in the one room. He's like, "There's a male, there's a male, there's a male." I'm like, "Shut the fuck up, dude." I'm like, "They just got in these rooms last week, transplanted from solo cups, or maybe 10 days ago." And sure as shit, a couple of them showed sex early, not even in a flowering. They're in a vegetative state, 18 hours on, 6 hours off, and they're showing already. Sometimes a male will do that. Like, it just runs a course like an autoflower. The only way to prevent that is to keep a 24-hour light cycle on them in the beginning. But for right now, I'm not looking for any other males than in the Dino Butter seed stock. So I just pulled them and cut them real quick. It's less cloning in the next few days. I plan on taking clones this week before sexing starts showing. That way, when males get determined, I can just cull them and keep that genetic backed up and take them to our other spot where we can run them full term and see what they look like, and see how they're going to produce in a flower state. But again, Evo, let me say it again. Thank you for having me on, and I can't wait to come on again and chop it up a little bit.
I will no more questions. Just a couple more things to say before we go. So, this is how the channel works. Is basically there's the one-on-ones like we've done tonight, the spotlight episodes. The link I sent you this evening is always good now. So anytime that you see a Weed Nerd World in the title, which are quite common, Monday nights, 9 o'clock till whenever. When is the other one? Thursday nights at 9 o'clock. The other ones are kind of random, like I told you, 11:30 to 4:20. On any other night, whenever the episodes fall short, I'll usually pick up with what I call the Weed Nerd World. That's only open to past guests, which is now you, everybody else we've talked to, but everybody else you've mentioned, and then 800 some people on top of that. So you never know who will be in the Weed Nerd World. So if you're actually kind of hanging out in the garden or whatever, and one happens to pop up and you want to come hang out, tell us what you're working on, where you're going to be. Fucking link always works. No invitation needed. At one point, I would like to do another longer spotlight with you because I tried to dig as least as possible because I knew we were able to stay on the short side. So I would love to do another one, go deeper. But at this point, no invitation needed for the Weed Nerd World. You see it, you want to come hang out all day today, 24 hours, you want to come back, link's good. Fucking, like I said, keep it handy anytime. You're always welcome. The other thing I want to get off my chest before we go, my friend, is I need a little silly thing that I call the soundbite. At some point, this will be a commercial for your episode. My version thereof would be, hey, this is Eagle, and I'm on fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 805. You can say whatever you want before, after that, as long as that's in your shout out somewhere. I'll be more than happy. And I'm ready for that. If you're ready.
Yep.
There we go.
This is Beegan, fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 505, talking about BeeGensBeans and my introduction into cannabis at a young age all the way till current. Thank you for having me, Eagle.
Right on. Episode 805. But we're I appreciate you coming on, my friend. I'm looking forward to talking with you again soon. Again, if you want to hook up with this gentleman tomorrow, 420, while you're looking to have some fun in the Flint area, come check him out. You want to go ahead and show him what you'll have there tomorrow?
Yep, let me flip it over. We got seeds and clones. I'm going to be there with Lime Rising Farms and Chris from Country Roots. It's an event held by Trick. Everybody can see that, all right, I'm sure. And before I get off here, I completely forgot to mention another close friend of mine that helped me out a lot in the beginning, and I can't discredit him, was Wee Woo, Mark, Scapegoat Genetics. Mark's a great guy as well. I can't believe we just haven't talked in a little bit here, and I can't believe he slipped my mind, but he's been another mentor of mine in the Michigan grower community, so having all these guys that you look up to, I feel like you can't fail when it comes to growing because you don't want to show the stuff that you're growing to these guys that you look up to that have been doing it for years, and most of them 20 plus years. So, but again, Eagle, thank you. Again, guys, come check us out tomorrow. Tricks event at Vehicle City Social. We're going to have clones, rosin, seeds. I think I'm going to pick up some Dogman vape pens and rosin on the way out there too. So very excited for that. But
Website, Happy 420.
Happy 420, 40% off on the website now through Saturday or Friday at midnight. It cuts off into Saturday morning. 40% off. That's practically dealer wholesale on almost all seeds because I always try to go a little bit less than the retail price. So with the 40% off, it's literally taking it down. It's just a thank you to everybody that has showed the support for the last 3 years of me having taking this next step in this journey of life. You know, I want to get out of the casino industry and get more in the cannabis industry, but it's hard to do when the market's crashing. So thank you for all of those that are making this happen for me. So I appreciate that.
We appreciate you, my friend. With that being said, thank you for hanging out with me this evening. Hopefully, we'll do this again soon. For the rest of you guys, empty your bladder, fill your tray. Let's pick up the rest of this 420. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Have a great day. Enjoy your 420, my friend.
Peace out. Thank you, Eagle.